It says that one of Hillary Clinton's top aides at the State Department, Cheryl Mills, interviewed candidates for jobs at the Clinton Foundation. This is raising even more questions about the relationship between the State Department and the foundation during Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State. I want to bring in Peter Schweitzer right now. He's author of the newly released Clinton Cash, a graphic novel. Hillary Clinton, there you go. This is the new Peter Schweitzer book. Thanks very much for joining us, Peter. Good to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me what the book is about in a crux, what you're trying to communicate here to readers.
Well, the original nonfiction book and now the graphic novel are really looking at the Clinton Foundation and the speaking fees to Bill Clinton and arguing, I think the evidence is pretty clear, that it was pay to play. That if you were a foreign oligarch and you sponsored inflated speaking fees for Bill Clinton during her tenure as Secretary of State, or if you made large contributions to the Clinton Foundation, you got special access and favors from Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, this is a really important, explosive story, and you document it in the book. Can you walk through us some of the things that are most problematic there? I'm wondering if this is resonating with voters, but also as you walk through really where the conflict was, what would you say was most amazing?
Well, I think what's most amazing is the pattern of foreign companies or foreign oligarchs giving money in the form of speaking fees to Bill Clinton while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. Keep in mind, Bill Clinton's speaking fees from 2001 up until the eve of her being announced as Secretary of State were between $150,000 and $200,000 a speech. Lots of money, no question about it. But Bill Clinton, at this point, is doing what every ex-president has done since Eisenhower. The problem is Hillary Clinton becomes Secretary of State. His speaking fees triple, or in some cases quadruple overnight. And foreign entities, companies like Ericsson, obscure and sketchy companies in Nigeria, investment banking firms tied to the Kremlin in Russia, for the first time ever start paying him $500,000, $750,000 a speech. And what you find is those people got favors in return.
Yeah.
The Clintons want to say this is coincidence. I don't think it's coincidence.
Which is why Harlan Hill, that email basically showing that you had Bill Clinton's chief of staff calling staffers at the State Department saying, look, we need to get this donor to talk to this official in Lebanon. That's why it basically opened up this window into what's going on.
Absolutely. And the scary thing is that simultaneously, there is so much on Hillary Clinton that should disqualify her, you know, between WikiLeaks, the DNC leak, what's been FOIA'd. But there's also a lot of fatigue on the part of voters. I think there's so much that they're not able to really appreciate how bad this is, and I think they're starting to tune it out. Do you agree? I mean, I'm concerned that people are just tuning it out now because they've heard so much of this for the last year.
What do you think, Peter?
Well, I think, Harlan makes an interesting point, but what I would say is that this is very different than typical money in politics. And I think this needs to be emphasized. You know, we're used to, Wall Street firms raising money for politicians and getting special access, but federal law prevents foreign nationals, foreign oligarchs, foreign corporations from doing that. They can't get access by doing this. The Clinton Foundation is a massive road around that. So that's the real scandal here. It's money in politics, but for the first time ever, you have a apparatus through either speaking fees or the Clinton Foundation where foreign oligarchs now get direct access to decision makers in Washington and get favors. That is uncharted territory, and we need to emphasize that, I think, again and again.
Mm-hmm. Well, is it true that also people that were on the State Department's payroll were also simultaneously on the payroll at the Clinton Foundation? Was there overlap?
Yes, no, that's exactly. That's exactly right. Uma Abedin would be an example of that. There is something called SGE, Special Government Employee Status, that's been around for a long time in the federal government. It means if you're a scientist at a university, you can go work at the Department of Energy and not give up your tenured faculty position. You can keep them both. But Hillary Clinton took that loophole and had a lot of SGE employees that were not tenured faculty. They were political operatives, or they had consulting firms, and they were able to be on the payroll both at the State Department and at the Clinton Foundation at the same time.
Peter,
Peter, one of the things that really struck me as shocking, it was reported in CNN a few days ago that the FBI asked the Department of Justice for a special investigation into the Clinton Foundation, and CNN is saying that the Department of Justice has denied that. Do you know if that's true? Because I was under the impression that there was an ongoing FBI investigation, but reportedly it seems that DOJ has blocked this investigation into the Clinton Foundation.
That's horrible.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of confusing reporting about this. I mean, I can just tell you directly from my experience, earlier this year, at the request of two people at the Bureau, I sat down with them to discuss some things in detail. It was at their request. We did not talk about the Washington Redskins. We did not talk about the servers. I don't want to go into detail, but clearly there are people at the Bureau that are looking into this, and I have my doubts about that CNN report.
I just want to underline that I think that the voter fatigue issue is very real. I think that the Republicans have blown a huge opportunity here because people are looking for a reason to focus on Hillary Clinton, to not vote for Hillary Clinton, and I don't think Donald Trump has given a lot of people that reason.
Yeah.
But, you know, the reality is, and this is sad, and this is why people are so cynical about politics, you look back at Dick Cheney, Halliburton, KBR getting multi-billion-dollar contracts in Iraq. That causes cynicism. I mean, Dwight Eisenhower warned about this, what, 60, 50 years ago, and it's happening, and it's why we do need huge change in Washington. No one is giving us that great alternative.
So, Peter, would you compare the two as Jack Otter is? Or compare past scandals to this?
I think certainly the Cheney situation deserved to be investigated, but I would not equate the two just in terms of how the decision-making is. But he makes a great point, which is absolutely correct, and I think the Clinton scandals are about more than just the Clintons, because here's what we know about Washington, D.C. If you give the political an opportunity to self-enrich in a legal way, they're going to do it. And there's no reason, if the Clintons are allowed to do this, why we can't have a Secretary of Defense 10 years from now, Democrat, Republican, put their spouse on the lecture circuit getting foreign money and set up a family foundation and do the same thing. I mean, there aren't Clinton rules and then rules for everyone else. This will be imitated if it's not dealt with.
Yeah, but see, I also think, though, that, you know, the email scandal and the scandal around the foundation are two different things in terms of how they resonate with viewers. Yes, I agree with you, Jack, that people are sort of, as Bernie Sanders says, sick of your damn emails, right? But when it comes to the foundation and you start connecting the dots, as Peter has in his books and film, people start realizing, well, wait a minute, maybe this was pay to play.
Well, and I would say, too, that people get the concept of follow the money. They get it. They're frustrated about it, and they think it's a real problem. I think, at least as it relates to me, the email, there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of confusion that's difficult for people to sift through. So I would agree with you, Maria. I think follow the money. People get the concept that people are throwing money at politicians because they want favors. And the fact that we're talking about Nigerian billionaires and Russian oligarchs doing this rather than just Wall Street and big oil, that I think scares a lot of people.
Yeah, and especially, you know, when you look at what went on with the Skolkovo project, right, in Russia, that tiptoes on massive danger because they were getting companies, Russian companies, involved in this so-called Silicon Valley of Russia. American companies were investing, and at the time, they're having American companies like Google and you know, high-end technology companies investing there and inadvertently giving away national security secrets.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, this was part of the Russian reset that Hillary Clinton oversaw, and again, classic example of self-enrichment. This is to set up a Russian version of Silicon Valley. Of course, their version is government-directed, unlike ours. But 28 American companies are lined up to cooperate. Of those 28, 17 are major Clinton Foundation donors. And even the guys on the Russian side of the equation, the gentleman that's running it, Viktor Vekselberg, he becomes a Clinton Foundation donor. And to top it all off, this initiative goes forward, and the U.S. Army and the FBI come out and say, wait a second, this is not ultimately for the benefit of the Russian civilian economy. It's for the ultimate benefit of the Russian military.
Of course
it's really an example of when you merge this corporate and this government power, and you have something like the Clinton Foundation where people can deposit money, you're going to have this kind of skimming occur, and it's a problem.
Very important story. Peter, thanks very much for joining us this morning.